I'm back from vacation and it's time to dive into some fixing 5e. This time, we're going to be talking about the Drunken Master Monk, released in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's good, it's a little maybe boring, possibly, but I think a few tweaks can fix what I consider to be some of the issues, so if you want to see what those are, stay tuned. Let's jump over to D&D Beyond to see what we can see about the Drunken Master Monk. So I think what I'm probably going to say here is, one, I did receive requests to fix it, right, to look at it. So I'm doing that. And then I also did my research beyond what my own personal opinions were to determine what don't people like about this class. And I haven't found one exact example, and from what I did from my research and from what I remember from my own personal opinion, it's just kind of meh. That's kind of where I think everyone's opinion is. It has cool abilities, and if you like that kind of trope that's depicted in a lot of popular culture, whether it be something more like I don't know, like a martial arts style movie or a video game or an anime or whatever, where someone has that sort of drunken boxing fighting style. This is what this is supposed to emulate, which is really cool. I personally really enjoy that. I'm a big fan, of martial arts movies and Jackie Chan, and then, that's kind of where I learned about this whole thing. So that's kind of my frame of reference. But from a mechanical standpoint in 5e, I feel like this class, or this subclass, it ticks the boxes, right, for the most part, I'm gonna say, for what you want it to do. But I also feel like it just doesn't feel as cool, or it doesn't necessarily have to be as flashy as some of the other ones. But where you'll probably get yourself hung up is if you start trying to compare it to other monk subclasses, and I don't think it's ever going to compare. And there's a couple things I think that may explain it, but let's look at what it gets, right? So at 3rd level, you gain proficiency in the performance skill if you don't already have it. And the thought process here being that technically a drunken martial artist does not have to be drunk to do what they need to do. In previous editions, there were drunken masters, and you got bonuses if you drank alcohol, and you got bonuses to resisting alcohol, and that was a whole thing. Yes, in theory, there is some stuff about drunken masters and those folks having a certain amount of alcohol to loosen them up and limber them up to do the things they need to do, but you also don't necessarily have to. And I think in the culture of the world and the way things are in Dungeons & Dragons nowadays, they made the point to discuss that in this subclass, that you just need to be basically perceived to be drunk. You don't actually have to be, or you act like that, and that gives you the benefits of this without it actually being something you mechanically do. And that comes in with the performance proficiency. Again, your martial arts techniques mixes combat training with the precision of a dancer and the antics of a jester. That's a really weird mixture of wording, but anyway, you also get proficiency with brewer supplies if you don't already have it, meaning that you can get that as a level 1 monk. And then you get drunken technique at level 3. You learn to twist and quickly turn as part of your flurry of blows. Whenever you use flurry of blows, you gain the benefit of the disengage action, and your walking speed increases by 10 feet until the end of your current turn. So this is good. This is essentially 2/3 of the benefits of the mobile feat, which is a common pick for monk, and monks are typically strapped for ability score improvements anyway, given the fact that you're going to probably want to focus on dexterity, wisdom, and probably constitution, just for the way things are going to work. So this is going to be when you use your flurry of blows, which, as a reminder to everybody, let's talk about that. Now, mobile is free. You take the ability score improvement and you lose that. To get mobile, you get all these benefits for free, whereas flurry of blows is a use of 1 key point. So for 1 key point, you're still going to get the benefit of flurry of blows, which is immediately after you take the attack action, you can spend a key point to make 2 unarmed strikes. You could do that. But then on top of that, you're also going to get disengage, which, remember, you could have spent a key point to get disengage with Step of the Wind, but now you're going to spend a key point, get flurry of blows, and get disengage for free, and get a movement increase on top of that. So that is very powerful. in and of itself. It's just not like it's a powerful ability mechanically. It just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't seem super flashy. Again, maybe that's the wrong word. So what I would do here is I would add under the bonus proficiency section one more piece. You are proficient in improvised weapons because, again, typically, and maybe this is just me and my depictions and the things I've seen of people that use this kind of fighting styles, anything becomes a weapon to them. They're fighting with whatever they have. Yes, fists and feet and, elbows and body parts, but they're also picking up whatever they can find around to hit and beat people with. So you get proficiency in the performance skill, proficiency with brewer supplies, and you're going to get proficiency with improvised weapons. And improvised weapons are considered monk weapons for you. So therefore, your martial arts die and all that stuff, that's everything that is improved when monk weapon stuff improves, so does improvised weapons. So if you do want to be a drunken master and you're going to hit people with kegs or bottles or casks or chair legs or fish, I don't know, whatever, right? You can do that and it'll be as effective as if you were punching. Because if you choose to go this fighting style, or this path, this monk path, you're pretty much going to be contained to unarmed strikes because that's what a lot of your abilities are going to focus on going forward. So let's at least let you use other fun things for that. I might even say, and we might want to add this in later, that you can use improvised weapons as part of your strikes for Flurry of Blows. I'm not sure the exact wording I would use for that. Typically, as we know, Flurry of Blows has to be unarmed strikes only. I might also say you can use improvised weapons. Again, it's not going to be any mechanically different because your improvised weapons are only going to be using your martial arts die, which is what your Flurry of Blows are going to be using anyway. You just get to use the fun roleplay and combat descriptiveness of hitting somebody with a bottle 5 times in Flurry of Blows as opposed to just punching or kicking them. Again, this is more just to make it more cool and unique and interesting for you, the player, and it really doesn't change anything mechanically for the DM, so that's why I would include that in here. So at level 6, you get Tipsy Sway, right? So you're kind of jerky, you're moving around, that's kind of the whole thing. In previous editions, this was basically like a stance that you entered that would do both of these things. This is cleaned up to be a little tighter and fit more in 5e. Whenever you're prone, you can stand up by using 5 feet of movement instead of half your movement speed, which is big. It's almost actually worse for you as a monk. You have such a vast movement speed. Blowing half of that to stand up is like, I don't know, it seems like a travesty. So only using 5 feet. Again, very powerful mechanical abilities. So this, I think, is part of the athlete feat. Gives you 5 feet to stand up. And now you still have your entire monk movement speed. And again, remember, if you use Flurry of Blows, you can choose to you can get disengaged for free and get an increased movement. So you're really gonna be zipping around the combat and moving all around, which is good. And redirect attack. When a creature misses you with a melee attack roll, you can spend 1 key point as a reaction to cause that attack to hit one creature of your choice other than the attacker that you can see within 5 feet of you. So that is, again, part of that, like, well, someone's coming in and you just sort of like boop, 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 push that attack over and hit somebody else. There's a lot of opportunities you could use this in a bunch of different ways, right? It's a key point. It's giving you a reaction as a monk. Typically, your only reaction is either going to be opportunity attacks or deflect missiles. And as I've seen as someone who played a monk for a long time, depending on the campaign, deflect missiles does not come up that much. So this is a much more reliable, and you are going to be in combat, moving around a lot. So if someone goes to hit you, the only downside of this thing is you have to be in a scenario where somebody misses you, you spend a key point and redirect that attack at a creature of your choice other than the person doing it. So there's a couple ways you could use this. You're surrounded by, you have 2 enemies. This guy goes to hit you, they miss, then you return it and have it attack that guy. In theory, this could be used where, like, a party member attacks you and misses, but you're banking on that miss happening, and then you redirect it. So the thought process with that could be, like, if you really need somebody to hit, like, if you really need the rogue to hit that guy, and you want to make sure it's 100% a hit, if they attack you, and then miss, you could redirect their attack into that enemy and it's an automatic hit regardless. So that's something, but that's a risk I wouldn't want to take as the monk. So something else that I might add in either at this level 6 or maybe as an attachment, it might even make more sense to add it into 11. Because we already seen this leap to your feet, so we have a thing where we can get up from prone really easily. So you know what? I'm going to add it to 11 because I don't really like the level 11 ability, so I think we could add something to it. So it's called Drunkard's Luck. You always seem to get the lucky bounce right at the moment, or at the right moment. When you make an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw and have disadvantage on the roll, you can spend 2 key points to cancel that. So that's not, again, that is not a bad ability. I don't want to say that in any means. You have key points. Not all of your abilities are keyed off of key points. But what's cool is a lot of your abilities just alter the things you already do, which is some of the complaints we've had about things in the past, like 4 Elements Monk. Everything you do was tied to key points. This is like a lot of the abilities here, you're doing Flurry of Blows. It's a thing you already have. This just makes it better. This is a new expenditure for key points that you haven't had before. It does cost 2, but it's going to take away disadvantage on an ability check, an attack roll, or saving throw. So that has combat utility, and that has out-of-combat utility. If you're exhausted and you have disadvantage on an ability check, maybe you're going to try to break down a door or whatever, you could choose to spend 2 key points to, overcome that. You have options there, which is cool, and it doesn't say... And it just says whenever you make that check and have disadvantage... So it can sort of mind break you there a little bit by saying, like, you don't know why you have disadvantage on the roll, but you can choose to negate it anyway. You could be blinded, you could be wearing a blindfold, you could be fighting in the dark, and then just choose to make it a straight roll by spending 2 key points. Remember, you get key points back on a short rest, so that's something to consider. It's just not a great ability, I guess is my point. Like, it's good, and that's my biggest downfall of the entirety of the Drunken Masters. All the abilities are good. They're all mechanically sound, powerful abilities, but they limit you to basic punches for the most part. And they just, they don't do something super cool. Like, you can't heal, you can't instantly murder somebody, pop back from the dead, sling energy blasts. Like, it's just sound mechanics. So I think, again, that's why I think improvised weapons just gives you something a little bit different to make things more interesting and more fun, and then that may change the way combat goes, and then you'll build fun encounters from that. So the thing I would add to Drunkard's Luck at level 11 is, in addition, while prone, your attacks do not have disadvantage, and enemy attacks do not have advantage against you. If you've ever watched any kind of movie or things like that where someone does use one of these kind of fighting styles, they seem to fight just as well laying down on the ground as they do standing up, stumbling around. So I think that would be a cool concept. It's something we really haven't seen before in 5e, and I don't think it's game-breakingly bad. So yes, you can flip up really easily up to your feet, but now at level 11, you can fight just as well on the ground as you can standing up. So people may knock you to the ground, not knowing, and knocking you prone, wasting an attack to do so, thinking that they've got you in a bad spot, but you, the Drunken Master, are perfectly fine because you can fight anywhere using anything just as well as you could anywhere else. And I think that that's cool, and it fits under the Drunkard Luck title, and I like that. And then lastly, we have Intoxicated Frenzy. Again, I've expressed this in videos in the past. It's good. Let's talk about it. You can attack an overwhelming number of enemies when you use your Flurry of Blows. So once again, not costing you anything extra, still only the 1 point for Flurry of Blows. You can make 3 additional attacks, up to a total of 5 Flurry of Blows attacks. Given that Flurry of Blows has to be made after an attack action, which means 2 attacks from the attack action and a potential additional 5 from Flurry of Blows, total of 7 attacks. But provided that each Flurry of Blows attacks targets a different creature this turn. So you can make a total of 7 attacks. 3 of those, attack action has to happen first. So 2 of those attacks plus 1 Flurry of Blows could be against a 1 enemy. And then you could make 4 additional Flurry of Blows attacks, but they have to be each against a different enemy. problem with that ability is, and I'm not necessarily going to say that I have a great fix for it because I don't know if I do, um, is you're at this point at level 17, your martial arts, your punches, your unarmed strikes, or if you follow my fix, your improvised strikes, or improvised weapons rather, will be dealing a d10, and if you happen to have maximum dexterity, a d10 plus 5. So this is a great horde breaker ability by all means. Don't consider that, don't knock that out. But like at most, if you don't crit and you roll max damage, you're looking at 15 points of damage. Nothing to discount, right? That's in something. Like if this ability came significantly earlier, which maybe is a fix, I'm curious what your thoughts are in the comments. The reason it's so late is because it does break action economy. But like against kobolds or goblins or weak enemies, this ability is huge. You could just mow things down. Which is why, again, if it was earlier, it would be impressively powerful because you could just wade through goblins, orcs, kobolds, whatever, and just down them like crazy, and Flurry of Blows would be ridiculously strong for you. It coming much later makes more sense because it's breaking action economy, where at this point fighters have 3 levels and 2 action surges. So I get why it comes later, but it's not going to be a horde breaker as in you downing a ton of enemies unless they've all been weakened. But one thing to consider is that you can stunning strike 6 or 5 different people with this. Or if you happen to be in a massive area of a bunch of people, you could use 2 of your Flurry of Blows, 2 of your regular attack actions, and target separate people. So if you're moving around, again, once you activate Flurry of Blows, you have Disengage, extra movement, and at this point your movement is really high anyway. You could potentially have the opportunity, again, you're spending 7 key points to do this at level 17, so you'd still have 10 left, or sorry, 8 to do 7 stunning strikes and 1 to activate Flurry of Blows. You could potentially stunning strike 7 different people, which will shut down a horde of enemies if they all fail, regardless of what they are, whether they be kobolds or whether they be death knights or whatever, right? That's going to shut them down. That many stunning strikes will be big. Again, my point being, it's a really useful mechanical ability. It's just not... It's powerful. It just doesn't have pizzazz. I can't come up with a good word for what I'm trying to express, and it's driving me crazy. But I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. So my main fixes would be give them proficiency in improvised weapons and let improvised weapons count as monk weapons, and then also let them use improvised weapons as part of they can supplement unarmed strikes and Flurry of Blows with improvised weapon attacks, so you could do both. And then again, give them the ability later on that they can fight from prone as well as they can fight from standing. There's no disadvantage for fighting from prone, and enemies don't get advantage from fighting from prone. That does make the class a step above. For level 17, I don't know. I mean, I really don't have... I don't want to be like, oh, let's just bump up their AC. Let's give them temporary hit points. I don't really have a good answer for how the best thing I can say, I think, about the Drunken Master, take the couple fixes that I've done, add it, and then you gotta roleplay it. That's the I mean, I know this is a mechanical fixing kind of a video, but I think the best fun you're gonna have playing a Drunken Master Monk is to roleplay it. There's a lot of fun options, right? You could... I think it would be really funny to pretend to pass out, so you can get the benefit of a short rest to get your key points back. Like, that could be a fun RP moment. You pass out, like you just fall down, pretend to pass out, be drunk and asleep, and then that's just so you can get the short rest so you can get your key points back. The party doesn't necessarily have to know that you don't need to be drunk to do all of the things you do, so you can convince them to buy you booze. That's a fun thing you can choose to do. Again, there's fun roleplay aspects in this a lot, and again, the idea of laying down and fighting just as well from prone as from standing is fun too. And I'm not really sure how you fix level 17. In previous editions, they had, because it was so tied to alcohol, they did have like a fire breath, where they could just breathe a cone of fire from consuming alcohol. Maybe that's the way you fix it. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. Another thing you could possibly do would be something with like a haste effect or a slow effect. I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll also have a link in the description below to new merchandise. I just added a Forever DM shirt. I thought it was really cool. Let me know what you guys think again, and I'll see you in the next video.